talks about in a certain area or region of Spain, they talk about commemorative celebrations which begin on the eve of the feast day with a parade of Moors and Christians and various effigies of St. George and the dragon on horseback. Once the parade reaches the main square, they reenact a battle between both camps, culminating with the burning of a winning dragon effigy. As selected and voted by the people of the city. Then it says, when you go down, it says in literature, in the 1897 book Dracula by Bram Stoker, evil things are said to occur on St. George's Eve, beginning at midnight. Wow. It says that the belief is that the vampires, witches, and other dark creatures must gather all the evil power they can between midnight and the dawn of the saint's holy day, so it is unsafe to go outside on that night. Wow. In spite of this individual being a saint, there is some, depending on what country, there seem to be some paganistic things, rituals, or practices weaved into it that's kind of blurring the lines of what I would think people would basically define as a saint, a Christian martyr or a saint, at least in my opinion. There's a lot of paganistic things in here. So I went to Britannica for St. George to see who he was, and of course they defined him as a Christian martyr. They said nothing of George's life or deeds can be established, but tradition holds that he was a Roman soldier and was tortured and decapitated under Diocletian's persecution of Christians in 303. His remains were taken to Lydia, now Lod, Israel, the homeland of his mother, and were later transferred to the church that was built in his name there. Various relics reportedly are housed in both Western and Eastern churches worldwide. St. George's Chapel of Windsor Castle, for example, is said to have once held 2 fingers, part of the heart, and part of the skull of the saint. They also say there are different legends about him as a warrior saint, dating from the 6th century, that became popular, increasingly extravagant. And they talk about a particular story, repeating some kind of story of him rescuing a Libyan king's daughter from a dragon. There's some things mixed in there before about something about a dragon, and then slaying the monster in return for a promise by the king's subjects to be baptized. And it said George's slaying of the dragon may be a Christian version of the legend of Perseus, who was said to have rescued Andromeda, from a sea monster near Lydia. It is a theme much represented in art, the saint frequently being depicted as a youth wearing a knight's armor with a scarlet cross. George was known in England by at least the 8th century. Returning crusaders likely popularized his cult. He was said to have been seen helping the Franks at the Battle of Antioch in 1098. But he was probably not recognized as England's patron saint until after King III. And they said reigned from 1327 to 1377, made him the patron of the newly founded most noble Order of the Garter. He was also adopted as a protector of several other medieval powers, including Portugal, Genoa, and Venice. With the passing of the chivalric age and finally the Protestant Reformation, the cult of St. George dwindled. So they're referring to it as a cult. And then they say his feast is given a lesser status in the calendar of the Church of England, a holy day of obligation for English Roman Catholics, Until the late 18th century, it is now an optional memorial for local observance. You were just listening to Teachable Moments with April podcast. I truly hope you enjoyed this episode. We invite you to stay connected with us on our other social media platforms: TikTok,